Thank you for listening to The Scene. And thanks to our sponsors, Elite Feeds in Tyndall, South Dakota, Monk's Ale House, Breno Construction, Hummingbird Guitar, Chris Hay Grinding, Tyndall Motors, Kathmandu Campground, Frank's Trading Post, and Team Pluto. Thank you to our sponsors for making The Scene and with it our dreams possible. Remember to go support them and tell them you heard it on The Scene. Well, welcome into another exciting episode of The Scene. I'm here with my buddy Scott Kirkhart in the house.
What is up?
Brother, man, we've already been talking pre-show and getting probably too far down the rabbit hole for the podcast. But we started talking about our history and where we're coming from, and I said, let's stop there and let's get the tape rolling, man. Let's start there, man. Who is Scott Kirkhart?
Well, I'm just a normal guy that plays a little music, most of the time, and I'm from Iowa. I'm from a little small town of Manson, Iowa, which is just north central Iowa. It's just a little town, about 1,800 people, and I've been here pretty much my whole life. And I've been playing music. I started in high school playing drums, and I went to college. And then all of a sudden one day I was just like, I'm done playing music. And I became a dad, and I did all that stuff. And then I picked up a guitar somewhere in between there and taught myself how to play guitar. And music kind of found me. So now I'm a full-time musician. So that's pretty crazy. That's
killer,
pretty crazy
man.
to me.
Yeah, I love it, man. And we got to meet each other. We talked at Jam Night. That episode is out there for the people. Man, what a time that was, and just what's been building lately. We were talking pre-show about just the energy that's everywhere.
Everywhere.
And you're in these places with all the people that are doing the same thing, and yeah, it's awesome, man. This podcast has been a whirlwind because it keeps me fed. Right. And when I talk to people that are doing the damn thing, Scott, I get fired up to stay motivated and keep doing our stuff here. So, what's big, man? What's going on this summer?
Well, lots of stuff, really. I'm booked. I took this last weekend off. I played Friday night. No, I played at a funeral. That was actually, let me say that quick. I played at a funeral Friday, and I don't ever play at funerals. But they wanted me to play my song, Old Friend, that I have out. And I'll tell you what, as a singer and a songwriter, that's the biggest honor I've ever had in my life, in order to play at somebody's funeral that appreciates that music and that song so much. They wanted played at their funeral. And man, I pretty much was in tears all the way home on Friday thinking about that. And I'm like, that was pretty neat.
Yeah. Yeah, to touch lives, man. That's what this is about, and to do it with your own music, that's touching, and I'm glad that you feel that.
It was an honor. I mean, and it really, really, truly was an honor to do that. It was hard for me. It's a song about my buddy who got killed in a farming accident anyway. So it was pretty emotional. Even to sing that song still to this day is still that way. So yeah, it was an honor of a lifetime. And then I drove to Des Moines and played on Friday night at Jack's place, and I took the weekend off because you know what? The summer is upon us this weekend, and Memorial Weekend starts next things off for the summer schedule, so it's time to go.
Yeah, man. We had a gig fall through for the 25th, and then I got a guy talking to some friends this weekend. They own a campground out in Sturgis, and they're like, hey, would you want to come out and play Saturday? And it's about the time I go and pick up my boy from that side of the state anyway. And it's like, well, hell, if I got to drive halfway there, I might as well go all the way there and enjoy it. And so, yeah, we're going to head out and play some shows. Shout out to Kathmandu Campground out in Sturgis. Some good friends of ours took a chance on an old campground kind of falling into disrepair. They put a lot of love into it. They created a really cool space to play some music, Scott. They would love you, man. So we're going to make sure to get you out there whenever you want to come. You ever been to Sturgis, Scott?
I've never been to Sturgis. No.
Oh, brother. Well, you make plans. 2025. You're coming with me. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, because you're living the dream. You make your own schedule. You're a business owner. We talked on the pod before. You had a long career working for the man, and kind of left that. And were you able to retire? So you got a little bit of some security in from that?
Well, we didn't get much of retirement,
Right.
you know.
No, that's the game
Um,
now. Work you till you're dead and throw you
that's
away.
that's just it. I figured my retirement was going to be play guitar, is what I
Yeah,
always
buddy.
thought.
That's
Yeah,
right.
so so
Might as
here
well
I
retire
am.
early.
Yep, I may as well just do it. And that's what I said too. I worked at FedEx for 20 years, dude, and I was like, hey, listen, my son graduated high school. Both my kids were gone, and they went on to college. And I said, it's time for Dad to go play for a little while. And I said, because we only have this one life. We live one life, right, on this earth anyway. And it's like, listen, man, I'm just gonna go. It's my turn. So
That's
what I did.
right. That's right, Scott. I love it, man. I got the same attitude. Like I said, we went a little too far down the wormhole for y'all, but
Yeah.
if you know, you know. And we're riding it right now. We're both having I'd say this is by far the biggest summer of my career, of my life. Minus getting married, and I think that whole kind of situation kind of built me up to be able to handle these other things, right? Planning an event like a wedding, and we really did it so easy, right? That I think it kind of impressed both my wife and I. Where we were like, damn, that was a couple hundred people that we just, kind of pulled that together. And really all it comes down to is we just need the money. Like we know all the people to throw a damn good party, and now I'm going out and running my mouth and trying to
find sponsors.
Yeah, man, and that's what I'm doing. I think we got a really cool thing with this podcast. It continues to grow, and God, we just have some great conversations, and that's what it comes back to is we're talking with people that are out there doing it. We always have some kind of knowledge that we're sharing inevitably between each other. What are you doing? What am I doing? How can we help each other?
Right.
I'm always willing to have people out into South Dakota. I got gigs out here, The problem is with most people I talk to, we're all professionals. We're booked out 6-8 months,
Yeah, I mean, I'm already booking for 2025, which is amazing.
It's a blessing, man. But it also means that you have to map your life out in advance, right? And there's no more just kind of flying by the seat of your pants. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful that we all have networks that are big enough to do that. And the networks are always growing, and then they're mixing. And my infusion now into the Midwest CMO is bringing a lot more than just one person and one band, right? Like I'm the guy who knows everybody from both sides of the state. You know what I mean? So now, whether it's MCMO related or not, I'm able to be a linchpin, right, in a huge network that connects. And it's coming together. It's coming together beautifully. And we're actually,
that was good.
Yeah. You like that? Yeah, buddy. I'm sneaking it in, buddy. I tell you what, man, it unlocks something in me. I don't get my mind blown very often, but the last 3 weeks, and shout out to Tetragrammaton, Rick Rubin's podcast, man. It's been opening some doors for me, and it's crazy to look at the views on it. It's like 3,600 views. It's wild, Scott. It's insane, man. Because it's not for the algorithm, right? Because it's for real people and me. Obviously, we're music fans, brother. Rick Rubin, absolutely. I am in, right? So I get to listen to him talk to all these really smart people and just be interesting. I mean, that's half the reason I have a podcast myself now.
Yep, that's cool.
Yeah, between him and Rogan and just the interview style. I listen to a lot of sports podcasts too. I'm a big Chicago fan through and through, right? Bears, Cubs, Bulls, so I'm always ingesting sports content, and podcasts is how I do it.
That's you do a great job of it too, man. I first heard from you the award shows, right? Is when I met you first.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I did 20 interviews that night, brother. It was wild. I was editing the next day, and I'm just like, man, we talked to a lot of people. I missed the show besides when I played because I was doing all the interviews. So I'm hearing it really for the first time as I'm editing. And let me tell you, man, you want to have a good time, on a Saturday morning after the show and going back and going, oh, man, that was hot. And most of the people on stage had never even met each other. It's a ragtag group behind, and then getting to relive all the pictures the next day. It was an incredible experience. I'm just so happy to be a part of the family,
My favorite part of that whole entire night was when Ron Lee King and Joe Flip got up there Joe was playing his oil can guitar and Ron Lee's ripping on that Telecaster, man. And I'm like,
brother,
I'm in heaven here.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
See, and I liked Joe Flip, and I caught a little bit of that set. And let me tell you, I've been a big fan of Corey Waller and the Wicked Thing since then. And his picking, brother, there ain't many guys that play like that don't live in Nashville and have his flavor. I think it's something, man. I think my gift is knowing something different and something good, right? And knowing that feeling, and man, they got it. We just had Corey on yesterday. I talked with Corey for almost an hour.
Oh, did you really?
Oh, buddy.
Corey's from the same hometown that I grew up in.
Oh, no kidding, man.
Yeah, he's about 10 years younger than I am, but yeah, in fact, I live a block and a half from his mom and dad. Literally.
That's beautiful, man. Yeah, we talked about his dad quite a bit and the family business and just, what that means to him and what it means for him. I mean, my dad owned his own business growing up, right? Now, he wasn't third generation. I know theirs has been passed down, but, I grew up with a father that had the time to do the things, right? That's why we got to pursue music and sports as far as we did. My dad was always my coach. And, there was that time that, a business owner can take, but then it also means that you learn that when you have the time, you need to take the time to do the work at other times then, right?
Right,
and I think we all kind of learned that, from an early age, right? I mean, I wake up at 5 a.m. and get after this thing, right? I'm not
I don't like sleeping in either. I still, even being a musician for 2 years now, I still wake up early in the morning, have my coffee. I may take an afternoon nap. Now, I'm not against that whatsoever. But
especially if you have a gig.
Right. Yes.
But I don't, especially now that I listen to guys like Dr. Jack Cruz and they're talking about the circadian rhythm and how important that early, red UV light is to human beings and how cutting ourselves off from that is what's causing a lot of our problems, right? Where we're cutting ourselves off from the source of all life on this planet. And, I've been outside a lot more, let me tell you.
Well, and now they're making those UV red saunas too on top of it.
Yeah.
For wintertime, because let me tell you, seasonal depression is a real thing.
Hell yeah. That's why we're mobile, brother. That's why we can move though. That's what I'm saying.
Right. That's the best part about our job is that, look, man, I'm going to Florida for a month and a half.
Yeah.
Next winter. Let's see ya.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That sounds like a Scott and Bubba on tour for 6 weeks.
Let's go.
Adios, man. My wife would put my kids in boarding school in a heartbeat.
Heck yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing getting to be a business owner, and it doesn't come without its stresses, man. We all know that, but it's been beautiful. I've been out. I left the factory mid-March and I was being called, and it's obvious that it's being called to much bigger things when you live the life that I have for the last 2.5 months then. And I'm like, okay, everything's just going to happen right in the exact time that it's supposed to. It's all good. Don't worry about it.
That's just the thing. It does too. I always told myself I would know when it was time. I would know if that time comes, I would know. And it happened. Right. And I just knew. I went in and I told FedEx, hey man, I'm tired of your fucking dog food and I'm tired of your fucking Walmart and I'm done. It's time for me to go do something that means something to be in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You remember you remember the day you walked out for good?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Every bit of it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah.
I know I went and drank a few beers that night.
Yeah. I had left early on a Thursday, I went on the news on Tuesday, was releasing a new song, right? I think this is leading up to March 15th. This is my weeks. Tuesday, wake up early, go up to Dakota News Now, and I'm doing, the whole Rockstar Media Tour, right? I did all the things and had a great day, go back to work the next day. They handed me a write-up, put me on a sweeper all day, and I was just like, I think this is over. I went in the next day till about noon, and I was like, yeah, this is definitely over. And I hadn't quit, and I wasn't going to do it over a text, so I went in on Monday, and biggest smile on my face because I had a great show that Friday, right? Just released a new single, Riding That High, and I grabbed that key card and walking through the guys, and I didn't clock in, and everybody's looking at me, and I went right up to the boss, and I just went, hey, buddy, I'm not going to need this anymore. I
Right?
appreciate it. And if I ever need a job again, I'd appreciate you guys having me back. But you ain't even welding right now. So I think I'm going to adios.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said too. And you know what? My boss looked at me that day and he says, I always knew this time was going to come. He says, so, thanks for the 20 years of your life. And we're still really good friends. He comes to some shows that I have when they get in his neck of the woods. So
yeah, man. Because after 2 decades, these guys are your friends, man.
Oh,
you spend more
family.
time with you spend more time with them than you did with your kids. So like,
absolutely,
it's not like you leave these things easily either to go chase some dream that's, I mean, on 90%, it never works out, right? I mean, I think it's working out a lot more now than it ever has because the making it looks a lot different, right?
Well, that's just it. I mean, my making it is, hey man, can I pay my bills?
Right.
and have a little to live on.
Already made it
afterwards. Absolutely, I can.
Already made it, man. Already there. It's incredible. How when you adjust the metrics, all of a sudden, a lot of us are passing the test. And yeah, I mean, that's most of the people I would say that I've had on the show are full-time musicians and just out there doing it, right? And
completely.
Not that we all couldn't go take a job or don't have some jobs. I just talked to my buddy Chris Graves, friend of the show. And he's like, I'm starting a full-time gig, still working full-time and full-time gig. And it's like, oh, I didn't know you got a job. Well, it's like, well, it's at the music shop. And it's like, well, that's not like, I don't feel like that's even like, that's still in your career. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
right.
Shout out to Haggerty's out in Rapid City. A lot of friends, I pretty much know the whole staff, right? Like it's the music shop in town. And it's awesome. Like, I don't see how that's not like still part of like your career.
Right. Yeah. You're still in the music industry.
Yeah. Right? So it's cool. And it's cool that we can do it, right? Like staying busy gigging. I don't even think that I'd want to do that. Right. Like I don't keep my voice in good enough shape. I know that.
Oh, I'm so busy gigging. It's
man.
ridiculous.
Right. Where it's too much, man. I got small kids at home still, Scott. That's the difference between me and you right now, right? I don't have the availability to leave home and be gone to play the weekend warrior thing. Is just like, I could be better served doing other things, right?
Sure. Yeah.
At least now, and especially with the podcast, right? Now I can be everywhere without being everywhere because you're going to share this with your fans and your fans are in your area, right? So I'm kind of like spreading all these little seeds, all these places I want to go. So when I'm show up, they're like, oh my God, I loved your podcast episode with Scott. That was so cool. Because then I'm there, performing with you at a show. There's a plan behind this whole thing, buddy. I went like Johnny Appleseed on that damn MCMO Award show for a reason. Because I knew what it meant to my career. And it was funny, PT, Paul Thomas, came up to me and we didn't speak very much during the whole weekend, but he came and gave me a big handshake. It was just like, congratulations, good for you, what you did for your career tonight without ever having, it was no fruition. I mean, we had done the podcast and whatever, but there's no listenership from it yet or anything, but him being and having a mind similar that just went, that was genius. Well done, right? And I'm completely. Like, yeah, I can teach everybody how to do this. There's no reason that the whole place couldn't have had it, right? And I just have the gumption and not just put it out there. I went back like a crackhead, Scott, picked them all up off the ground and gave them all those ones out too. I didn't waste the thing, man. I made sure all 300 of those got into the hands they needed to.
That was awesome.
Yeah, man. I'm a hustler, dog. And because I'm not the best. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not the best singer. I'm not going to write, like, it's hard. It's hard for me to sit there and play my songs all night and get you to like me. So I play a lot of covers and doing all those things, right? But I'm not the best at doing all those. I'm always playing with a different group of guys, it seems like. So the show's not ever the tightest thing, right? I got to bring something, right? So I got to work harder than everybody. You got to bring a ton of freaking energy and you got to be likable. You can't come out and be an asshole.
No, that's right. You can't be a dick.
No, and as much as you want to some days, but man, it's hard to bury the everyday crap and go to work. Like, can you talk about that? Because you are full-time, like life still happens. I know the kids are gone now, but like there's still shit that happens. You're just at a funeral and like life is still happening. Can you kind of speak about how to deal with, life still coming at you while still having to maintain being in front of the public? Like your schedule's not changing.
No. Yeah. not only that, but I also have, so I started in 2021, I started a nonprofit called Broken Strings, and we raise money to give students guitars in school. And our main goal is 367 school districts in the state of Iowa. We're going to give 367 guitars. Well, and we're working on that. We're working on that. But so that my Mondays and Tuesdays most of the time, and then I play Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sundays during the summer times a lot. So, here's the difference now is I used to go to work and I'd come home and I wasn't at work anymore. Now I'm always at work, no matter what time of day it is, no matter what you do. So you do work. You work all the freaking time, and it's whether if I sit outside on a Monday morning and play a little guitar, and I want to learn this song, I want to learn that song, I want to do some writing. You're constantly honing your craft or doing what you're supposed to do on this earth. It's a passion. It's not only what I do, it's my passion, what I'm doing.
And this is what I've been saying on the show. Tell me if you feel this, Scott. We don't do music for a living. We are living musicians.
Yeah. Oh, completely.
And you can expand that to living artists, and we're all just living beings, man. And we're trying to find a way. And I don't think that just like grinding it out, especially for people that got this spark inside of them, right? That got that cosmic spark. I don't think it's right for us to subject ourselves to that life.
Well, and I completely agree. And I did that life for a long time. And I'm like, I don't, you always feel like there's something missing. I always felt like something was missing in my life. And I don't have that feeling much anymore, which is crazy to even think about. Like I said, if you would have talked to me and said 20 years ago that I was going to be a full-time musician, I would have told you were crazy. But hey, here I am. I'm doing it. Right?
Yeah. Well, and 20 years ago, you were out vehemently, right?
Yeah.
I ain't doing this, and
yeah, I'm done playing drums. I said I'm done playing drums.
It's funny how it never goes away. So had a really cool talk. Today, and we're discussing family music with another guest, and he had said that, instead of it being that music was in the home, it was kind of the lack of music that drove him into it. Well, and he had known that, dad and uncles had played in a band before, but, for whatever reason, and their reasons are their own, got out of it. But when he started coming back with the guitar, that they were all like, hey, man, yeah, that is really fun to do that. We're going to do that again. Well, and then they ended up having a blues band for years after that. And it was like, it just doesn't leave you. If you have it, you have it. And my feeling is that everybody has it in some way. That's why music strikes us the way that it does. We all have that. It is the missing piece to everyone. Well, that song is the piece that completed someone's life on Friday, right? That was the close of that, right? That's what these songs are, man.
And that was crazy to even, I wrote that song. I wrote Old Friend when my buddy passed away, and I was sitting in my garage feeling sorry for myself, and I was in a bottle of whiskey that evening, and I said, I don't know how or why. I didn't know that I wrote the song until it was like a week and a half later. I was like, what is this on my phone? And I heard it, and I'm like, oh, holy cow. When did I do this? And then I finished it, right after that. And I'm like, oh, that's a perfect song. I mean, completely perfect song for what I was feeling that day. And it's, music does control our life, right? We just get to play music. We're honored and blessed to be able that we have this talent that we were given, and we're doing something with it on top of it, because I'm a firm believer in everybody has a passion or a talent, right? And that's part of your job here is to figure out what that is, and then you have to do something with that.
Right? Who would have thought mine was running my mouth?
Well,
if you'd have told my mom, she'd believe you.
Yeah. Yeah, she would have been like, hey, yep, no, we knew it a long time ago.
Man, my name was Mouth for a while.
And
it was because it ran all the time, and it happened to be a little foul, too.
They don't give directions on life.
Oh no,
I guess it's our
no.
job to try
And
to figure it out.
I tell you what, man, there was definitely no handbook on how to be, how to parent this,
Right.
and I've always been pretty independent. I mean, from an early teen year, right? I mean, from like I was making my own oatmeal and taking myself to school in kindergarten, right? My parents were raising two other kids. They were young parents too, right? My mom was 19 when she had me, so it's yeah, and it's different, and we're trying to be different for our kids. Your kids were raised differently and probably a little better than you. And
I come from a family of 6, and I was the baby of the family, right?
Yeah, so you don't look like the baby.
No, yeah, I am. I am out of 6. My and I don't even know what it would be like to be anything else but the baby of the
What's
family,
the gap between you and your oldest sibling?
My oldest sister is 63, and I'm 48. So
15 years, yeah. That's a generation or two at this point.
Right.
The way the world
absolutely.
is accelerating, right? Things are very different, and that's almost how you have to separate the generations. It's not an age gap. It's like, well, like what happened?
It is a generation gap.
Because the time before social media and the time after, like there's got to be a line, like 2008, right? You know what I mean? The smartphone, the social media was there, but it wasn't a thing really until it was in everybody's hand, right? Like that was the conjunction of those two things around the same time. It's just an insane, just cosmic.
We had MySpace, but you had to access it from your home computer, right?
Right. Exactly.
You didn't have it at the touch of your hands.
Yeah, man, it's wild. And I'm 38, so I'm kind of a baby, and especially because I live in the sticks as well. Like I remember living around the Chicago area because that's where my parents grew up, and that's where we lived until like 95, right? So we had I don't know if we were connected to the internet yet. I know that my neighbors were. So my neighbors had Windows 95 and they were connected. I had the Compaq. I had SimCity and you know what I mean? I was doing some DOS stuff or whatever. So I was doing a little bit of that at like 6, 7, 8 years old, right? Touching a computer relatively early. Well, then we move out to South Dakota and the technology is not there. Like internet, computer, all that stuff's way off the table. We live in the sticks. Like it's my dad's still has crappy internet, right? Like, dial
up.
Yeah, no, it's better now, but it took until I was out of high school, right? Before it was really like good internet. I remember my friend down the road had it, but I mean, even then you weren't getting anywhere with the dial up. So
no, and that's just it. So I graduated high school in 94 and we had a computer lab that I had to take typing class in, and I could talk to my buddy across the room just by typing on my computer, right? And that was a huge thing. That was pretty cool.
You could chat on the network.
Know the internet then,
Yeah.
So, look at the technology. Well, but I mean, just look at the technology in music in itself and everything that you do. Look at the cars. Look at your phone that you're holding in your hand. Hell, that's a mini computer right there.
Yeah. Well, and I use it. Use it.
Me too.
Yeah.
All the time. I mean, we're on them all the time.
All the
especially
time.
being a musician, and if you're promoting yourself on social media and everything, you have to stay present. You have to be part of it, which is, a pain in the ass most of the time. But
right.
It's something that we got to do. And to stay relevant at all, you have to do it.
I got to talk with Jordan Beam last week, and he's like, I start to panic if I didn't post a story in the day. And I was like, easy, buddy. Like, I don't know if it matters that much, but it probably does. And I just don't care. Yeah. I'm now since he said it, I'm like, oh my God, do I have to be like, I'm usually pretty good, but I don't like get obsessive about it where it's like, no, you better put that in your routine a little bit. And
it makes you think about it, though. It makes you conscious about it.
Yeah, man. Well, because he's out there hustling. I'm like, well, I want to be like Jordan Beam. So,
well, like look at Corey Waller and those guys. So
yeah,
they're trying to get better on their video, right? And doing more stuff with video. And I love what they're doing. And I need to do more of it.
Yeah.
I mean, people do want to know what you're doing. I'm always like, nobody wants to know what the hell I'm doing. Well, they keep showing up to gigs every time I play, so maybe they do.
Yeah, and I'm bad about, I don't do, it's hard for me to do the selfie thing, right? And walk around with it and everything. If I could find somebody that would follow me around and stuff, I don't mind talking on a camera at all. That's not it. I just don't do the like finding the best angle and everything. I get very frustrated with it quickly, and then I just put it down. And
I agree.
Do it.
I agree.
But I'll post a lot, and I like to engage with people. I obviously, connection and relationship, that's my favorite part about the social media aspect, right? It was really cool to meet all you guys, but the fact that like I didn't get anyone's phone number, I gave out my email to a lot of people, but even that's on the internet, like, you know what I mean? Like we're still using that to connect.
Well, that's just it. That's the cool part. No, like the fact is that, listen, man, I'm talking to you on your podcast now because we met at the CMO Award show, and now we're talking. We talking. So you send me stuff from the scene all the time via Instagram and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna check it out. Hey, by the way, if you wanted to ever do an interview, let me know, man. What are you doing today? All right. I had to get a haircut, but I'll be on the phone, right?
That's right, man. Well, and that's really what the show's about. And I'm available. Let's talk. Just putting it out there. And I think there's always some value in what we're talking about. I mean, if Joe Rogan and his friends can get stoned and high on mushrooms and talk for 4 hours and people listen to that, and being a listener, right? Myself, I'm like, I listened to that, and it was just incoherent rambling. Well, people can listen to me and people can listen to me and Scott incoherently ramble for a while, and maybe we'll touch on some points. And man, we get to talk about what we got going on. So speaking of, what's the next couple of big gigs, man? We're coming into Memorial Day weekend here. What's the next few weeks look like for Scott Kirkhart?
Well, it's Friday. I head to Des Moines at Shotgun Betty's in West Des Moines, Iowa. That's always a great place, great crowd.
Yeah, I tell you what, a name like Shotgun Betty's sounds like a good time.
Yep, it's always a good time. And then from there, I go from Des Moines all the way to the Mississippi River. On Saturday, I play at Offshore Resort or Hotel and Resorts. It's a beautiful, right on the Mississippi River. My view, my office view will be incredible that day. And then I come home and I play at my aunt and uncle's winery, actually, right outside of Lakeview, Iowa, for a Sunday fun day. And last year we had about 350 people show up. So I'm hoping that we get more than that this year. We're going to try to break a record again. And that's an amazing night when the sun starts setting and you're setting out within the vineyard, and it's almost heavenly. So I'm looking forward to the weekend.
You got to hook us up, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Anytime.
Yeah, we'd love to come out.
Anytime, man. I'll keep you busy, I promise.
Yeah, well, we just opened up some new partnerships, man. So we got Thursday night songwriter showcases at Monk's here in Sioux Falls. Cool. They've been gracious enough to open their doors to us and open that stage. They didn't have anything going, and I said, man, let me bring in these people, and I think we can build something real good. So we're gonna start filling those in and hoping to get a lot of our friends also in the Midwest CMO, but outside of that too, I got a lot of friends in the state that deserve a shot. And recording the podcast live on the stage and getting the songs recorded. Yeah, brother, it's a cool idea. It went really well last week. We've kind of run a few ideas, but then I'm also trying to do we kind of left another club to take this one here. But the other club, we're building out what I'm calling urban nights. So letting the hip hop scene, the art, the fashion, the culture with that urban flavor, because Sioux Falls is a growing metropolitan area. And while we all have Midwest values, I think there's other cultures that can be expressed, right?
Oh, for sure.
And I want to, because I had the nights, I wanted to provide that for someone else, right? Because I was taking my idea somewhere else. It was like, well, we can just put a new idea there and see what happens. So yeah, put a little team together for that. And so we got shows, man. We're doing big things too. So we're going to look at the calendar in 2025 and start getting a few dates circled for Scott Kirkhart. And we'd love to come visit you in your hometown, man. Play your aunt and uncle's winery and to be family with your family, right? Like that's how we're all going to get famous, is that we all keep hanging out with each other, right? And that's
keep hanging out with each other and keep having fun, right?
Yeah, brother, it's nothing but a good time. I'm still vibing off of the awards show, man. Still.
I think we all are, and that usually lasts until that usually lasts for a good 6 months, and then all of a sudden something else happens, right? So then you
Right.
start vibing off of that, and it's like, and then next thing you know, it's ready for the award show again, and you're like, hell yeah, let's go.
Right. We need a fall convention or something where we can just
I
like
think we need to.
education based. We got on a call yesterday and we're talking about a lot of ideas, and yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes. I think it's already grown beyond what PT and the wildest dreams have already been achieved, right? That was kind of the
Yeah,
thesis of the night was like, so where do we go from here, guys? And anybody
right.
who's got ideas and anybody who's really to be passionate about this and to start, starting to formalize a little bit of things and letting the idea crystallize, right? And I
Yep.
think, guys like you, great ambassador, and Brad Morgan, obviously, who brought a lot of us in.
Oh
Corey, I
yeah.
think, and those guys are going to be. So it's pretty much all of us that are kind of in now are eventually going to step into more like leadership roles, bring in new people, and kind of coach that next generation. And then my thing is, this next generation of kids coming up that are 20 years old right now they have got it all, right? They've been learning music and
Completely.
doing the digital thing the whole time, right? We got a girl out here, a young lady, I should say. She's not a girl. She's a powerful woman of music. Her name's Alyssa Kaiser. We've had her on just about everything that we can do. We invite her everywhere. She has star quality songwriting, right? And where she just said she had a band behind her that knew what they were doing. She will go far, right? So I'm
Right.
trying to like
Yes.
incubate that, and it's like, okay, how do we just keep identifying that and building these people and giving them all the knowledge they need and opportunities and everything, and then sending them out into the world, right? And seeing
Man,
what they
well,
can do.
and some of these kids, I like I said, I'm 48 years old, right? So I played in high school. I played drums. I went to college and I played drums. But then I didn't play for a while. And I, raised my babies and whatever. And I did all that stuff. But like there's a band, they're called Love Bomb, right? And they're all 13, 14, 15-year-old kids from my little Fort Dodge, Iowa over here. And they started a band. They like, like Green Day music and stuff like that. They like that 90s grunge and early 2000s music. So next thing you know, they started showing up to jam nights. And we have a lot of jam nights over here. And they start playing there and you become a little more comfortable and they're not half bad at all. And next thing you know, they're playing gigs that young. And I was like, man, I wish I would did that when I was that age. Could
It's
you could you imagine the skill set from now to then, right? I
Well,
mean,
and it's just the
wow.
access to the information, right? They're growing up watching YouTube videos on how to play and becoming masterful at earlier and earlier and earlier ages. And it's like, I'm already outdated. I've been outdated for a decade, right? Like, I was never that good to begin with. But what I can teach you about the real world stuff, what we can do with all this talent, I think the stars, the outside of the galaxy is the limit, right? Like these
Oh,
kids can go
for
anywhere
sure.
and do anything, right? They're going to change the world with their music, and that's where I love your foundation. And I tell you what, in the future, the scene's going to be a big contributor to this, and we're going to talk obviously off the air about how I want to be involved and getting the guitars into the hands of children. I'm all
Sure,
about
man.
that, man. I love the vision. It was something I was talking about with my buddy Paul Chapa. He has Fish, which is Friends in Service of Heroes. So he works with veterans who maybe, fallen through the cracks a little bit. He sort of put together some nights where they can all get together and kind of hear each other's stories, have a featured speaker. So he does a lot with veterans. And I thought about, guitars for veterans as well. And you're kind of along the same lines, right? Getting these out into the school districts. For me, getting them into the hands of veterans to help with some PTSD
There
and music,
there is
man.
a
Music is going to save people.
and I've gave a couple guitars to a couple vets around here. Even from Broken Strings, because you're right. Music music heals, right? And I mean,
Frequency.
yes, completely. Completely. And we vibe at a way higher frequency than a lot of people do, musicians. I'm a firm believer in that
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah. Well, and
And
it's why we shine.
yeah, I agree. I agree. And I guess I guess as the older generation of musician, as I transfer myself into that older generation, and it's our duty to raise the next generation of musicians and get them started earlier and get them going. And I think that's just all part of it. That's why I kind of created Broken Strings. And we started about 3 years ago. We're really just kind of getting rolling now. We've raised over $27,000. We've given away over 50 some guitars. And it's just a group of people that are getting together and want to do this for kids. And man, the idea just came through me. I don't know how or why, but sometimes when I get these ideas in my head, you got to go with it, because usually it's from a higher power, right?
Yeah, well, exactly right. And it's, it's from that source, right? Getting out in that sunlight and absorbing all of that. I think that's the key, right? And the more I listen to some very smart people, the more I believe it. It's why we had to leave those jobs, buddy. We were both called to do something much bigger with our lives. Thank goodness for everyone. We listened, and we continue to listen. And I think that's my thing. It's just when I shut up and started listening to the universe, it put me right where I needed to be. And now it's just staying on the wave, right? I talk about it a lot on the show. Just staying up on it, man. We created this thing. Sure. Let's ride it.
And you know what, everybody, now that you say that, so I played that funeral on Friday, and the pastor there came down and sat next to me. His name was Dave, and I can't remember his last name offhand, but super nice guy. And he is a music major. He went to college and played music, decided that he was going to be a pastor, but he was on tour with the band America for like freaking 10 years. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, what are you doing in Storm Lake, Iowa as a pastor right now? He's like, it was just my calling. That's what I had to do. And I was like, holy shit, man. How cool is that?
Right.
How cool is it the universe had me go play a song for a gentleman who passed away, and the pastor is now this big guy in music, right? And I'm like, okay, that's crazy to me. I mean, it makes your hair stand up a little if you think about it.
Yep. And that's how you know the electricity's working, right? I mean, they behave that way for a reason.
Yep.
And that's been the best part about this podcast, is that I have those moments daily now, right?
Isn't that cool though?
Yeah, it's the best job in the world, man. I mean, sometimes 2 or 3 in a day, I'm having these crazy conversations. Me and Corey Weiler talk for an hour, talking about life and
Corey's the crazy deep person.
Yeah, I love him, man. I love his music. I love the person that he is. I mean, from the moment he sat down across from me at the table, I mean, that's how I met him. I think I had my head down and I was like digging in my toolbox, and he plopped down with a bush light in his hand. And I was just like, I already like this guy. He ain't got to say a word. You ready?
Yeah.
Yep. All right, buddy.
Shit, man.
Let's go. Yeah, man. So how cool, like, we're not that far away from each other, man. We're a couple hours, dude. We're already traveling, and you guys are great links in the chain, and I can be a great link in the chain. We got a ton of gigs in South Dakota, right? There's a bunch of shows out here and good money in it. And we want to help you all out. I think our scene is hungry for new blood, and all of our people are saying the same thing. Like, we want to get out. Well, this is the bridge, right? Like, let me be the bridge between a bunch of cool gigs out here and a bunch of other gigs. And we're talking about some message boards and some other things. I mean, we have some things in place, right? Mostly inside the Midwest CMO. And how do we streamline it? How do we make it easier to all network and do what we do? We all have this huge list of venues, right? How do we share all that with each other easily? How do we make everything accessible to everyone, put it all out there in a database that everyone has access to? So you don't even have to call me, right? You have the list too, right? Because it's all the venues that we're all cool with. So you're building that friendship list, right? The email list.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of things in the work. Being a part of an organization like the Midwest Country Music Organization, which is just really a loose association of independent artists and musicians and some radio stations, and like it's not an organization that's gonna do. It's not supposed to do anything for you. The $50 is just to make you accountable, right? Like, you're in. What are you gonna do here, right? And it's trying to convey like, hey, this is what we do. this is who we are. A little bit of mission statement. That was a big part of talks, and moving forward. So we're really excited, man. I'm really excited about it. I'm excited to work closer with guys like you and Brad Morgan and PT up there and to just be part of the family, man. We're all doing it. Cool. And I told him, I was like, man, I was trying to build the same thing y'all had doing. I'm just going to funnel everyone into this and help you just do, like, add my energy to this instead of trying to do my own thing. Right.
Well, you can do your own thing too.
Well, and that's exactly it. Right. Well, I was going to say, we were going to build a South Dakota music. So, you know what I mean? And kind of do that, where we have a couple of Facebook pages that more than serve our purpose for that already. It doesn't need to be a formal thing, but to link into something much bigger, definitely trying to drive more of a South Dakota contingent and to provide a home for more people from Iowa and Minnesota. And now, I mean, it's stretching all the way out into Indianapolis and that area, right? The Indianis are from all the way out there. So
that's where Derek Jones is out in Indianapolis. So,
right, man. So
it's an organization that I'm proud to be part of. I've been part of it now. I think this is my third year going on now, I think is what it is. And not only, but they also give back. Like, they donated $1,500 to Broken Strings.
Right. Well, because that's the function of the organization, is to give back, right? And that was that's the mission statement, right? Create, inspire, give back. That's the whole point.
And they support each other. We all support each other.
Right.
It's not a competition. Like, man, when my friends do good, dude, my life is going to be good. Right. And it's not a competition. And I think for a really long time, it was that way. And I think that mindset is changing over the last 10, 15 years. And, like, hey, dude, I got this going on. Can you come over here and help me do this? Absolutely. Can you do this? Can you do this? Yes, absolutely. Let's do that. When you work together, teamwork makes the dream work, right? That's what I always said. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Right. And a phrase that we use a lot here is it's collaboration, not competition. So it's, it's all the same things we're saying. Well, Scott, this is a great conversation, man. I appreciate your time. We got girls softball tonight, so.
Yeah, enjoy your softball tournament.
I appreciate you, brother. We'll see you around. Thank you for listening. Remember to go to patreon.com/thescenesd. Follow us on all your social media channels and make yourself part of The Scene.